beautiful day, heading over to my favorite metal store to go get some supplies, and I think today's a fine day to build something. Here we are, my favorite metal store. These guys, they got what you need. I was at a friend's house the other day, and we were having pizzas outside. He's got this pretty cool propane fired pizza oven, and it works great, but the only problem is that when the wind blows, then the wind blows all the heat out of it. So he's got a birthday coming up, and I thought instead of going and getting a bunch of pieces of plywood and boxes and all, setting them up around to block the wind, how about make some sort of a wind block for this thing. Went to the metal store, got some sheet metal. I've got an idea in my head. It's either going to be really easy or not, and we'll see what happens. So this is what I was thinking. Boom. Just imagine that there's a pizza oven inside the middle here. I'm going to do just pieces of, I think I got 22 gauge sheet metal. We're going to go 16 inches. Maybe if I think about it, if I know how to do this, I'll put a picture of what the pizza oven is here. All right, if that worked, you just saw a picture of the pizza oven. So with that in mind, we've got some hinges. We'll open this thing up and we'll see if the easy answer is gonna work. Because the harder answer involves welding and jazz, which is not bad. It's just gonna take a whole lot longer. This is gonna be the trick here. So the question is, I want it to all fold up nice so it can be tucked away, maybe stored underneath the pizza oven. But got a hinge, just a plain old little hinge from the hardware store, and right, so you put it on there, and then when I fold it up, I want it to all lay flat. I'll put it over here, maybe you can see that. But I gotta have room in there for all my hardware. I'm gonna grab some number 6 by 1/2 inch, because I think that'll fit in there. But the problem is, I don't know if the screw head and the nut will make it too thick and ruin the aesthetic I'm going for. So I might just kind of mock some stuff up and see what we get. My mock-up is done, and so I figured I could stagger the hinges, and then you see I just stuck a nut there, and I've got, you know, nuts strategically placed in there to kind of give me what that width would look like. We'll try this other way without the sun behind us, but it's, you can see it still stacks up. Man, you know how cool it would be if we didn't have that hardware in there? I mean, talk about E for effort. Whew. I might have to think about this for a sec. I did get one spare piece because it's not if I screw up, it's when I screw up. And so I could play around with that. Right, the alternative is just to weld the hinges on. Thought of something else. We can defer that decision here for a little bit. The other thing is that I'm gonna need room on the bottom side for the propane hose to run out. And I don't know exactly where it is on the pizza oven. So I'm just gonna cut them all out so they're kind of the same. I'm gonna get it close enough, and then what I can do is I'm gonna stack them all together, and then I can, when they're all exactly together, I can just use flap disc or something like that to just make them all in the same stack, perfect mirror images of each other. Then I'm also gonna do a little radius on the top corner here, just so there's nothing pokey. And then when they're all stacked up, I'll probably take a flap disc and just round off the corners a little bit too, so there's no sharp edges. That's my plan. let's figure out this thingy here. I went around and randomly measured propane hoses that I have around my house. You know, 1/2 inch, 6/10, something or other. So we'll probably just go with the good old-fashioned inch. That way, plenty of room. That, my friend, is the perfect radius. Can of stain, boom, just like that. I bet you I've got a tool, something or other I can use to cut that out. We'll see. Yeah, I got a tool. Chunk, propane hose running underneath that. I think that should work out pretty good. You know how I said it'd be easier to cut it out with power tools? That wasn't the case. I tried a lot of tools. Old school. That worked out the best. So now I'm gonna clamp these in place, and then I'm gonna use power tool, and I'm just gonna make them so they're all mirror images, or not mirror, identical to each other. And I think then it'll look good. They're not all exactly the same height. I had my favorite metal store go ahead and cut them to size, and they got pretty close. They weren't perfect, but they were pretty close. But in this friendship, I think that's good enough. A couple more, just because we don't want bad things to happen. Come this far. Not saying bad things won't happen, but let's see what happens. Definitely the hat for this head. All right. Is it looking like a pizza oven wouldn't break yet? 5 is probably overkill, but I figure you can always loop one back on itself. Pull it back around behind or hold it in. But better safe than sorry. Oh, I don't think I can put the hinge discussion off much longer though. I mean, I might just blow a hinge and try welding it on this, knowing that I'll have to get another one to replace it, but it's probably smarter than just going for it. I have a feeling this is going to take a little practice. Find out. Alright, got this thing mocked up here. Alright, well that's not too bad. I got the machine dialed in. So I think I'm going to take this over to the vise and see if I can pull it apart. Just to make sure it's strong enough. I've already torqued on this one. You can see I bent on that pretty good and it held up, but I don't want warranty calls, bub. All right, I torqued on that thing pretty good. Bent the hinge, but the welds didn't come off. So, you know, this wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So I think this is the answer. We're just gonna weld these things on. Got the radius corner. Our things, that radius just happens to be the top of a Napa bucket. And I think before I go any further, I'm gonna take and make sure there's no burrs on the edges. I'll probably, I think I got, I don't know, 80 grit or something. Yellow, what's yellow? I got my cheat sheet. Yellow, yeah, 80 grit. I think that's probably what you need. I might just run this over all the edges really quick. That way, when you're handling this after a night of pizza and beverages, there's no concerns about sharp edges. Check that out. If I was to do it something like this. So secure this on this side of this hinge to here, and the other hinge on the back side. Do my little weld action. That way, when you fold it up, that's gonna be in here like this. It's gonna be really slim, right? Just imagine, it's metal stuck to metal. It's gonna be really slim profile. And then, if you look at it from the side, man, look at that. That like takes up no space. That's when we're talking about aesthetic, that's what I'm going for. That is nice and slim profile. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Time to weld up the hinges. I'm gonna get the laid out here, measured, make sure that everything goes on nice and square where it needs to be square, and parallel where it needs to be parallel. Last thing I want is for when you open it up, it's all like some janky square wave thing. That would be bad. So, do that right, should be good. Well, it's coming together. Got the first set of hinges on there, folds up, pretty square, pretty much how you want it. Gonna do the next set. It's looking good. Right, it's looking like something. It's coming together nicely here. Got a handful of hinges on. I haven't screwed up the order yet. And that's kind of what the welds look like when I'm putting them on there. You give it a little something to focus on there. Yep. So I'm getting good penetration. They're not too big and bulbous. So that's nice. But then I've been just sending them down with what possibly could be one of my favorite tools here, little angle die grinder. Yep. So anyway, that cleans it up, and that way they can lay nice and flat. And let me tell you, guys got to pay attention to his welds. If you got any sort of undercut or anything when you go and grind it off like that, you know. So getting it figured out. A couple more, and I think we might have something. Maiden voyage. Let's give this thing a shot. Pretend we're gonna put a piece of it. Oh man, boom, look at that. It's pretty big. I think that'll do. Pizza oven, right in the middle. Do your little, the wind can blow all at once. Everything ended up pretty much parallel, where it needed to be parallel, and perpendicular where it needed to be perpendicular. I think for our relationship, this is good enough. I'm gonna clean it up. Little, I don't know, acetone or something to get the oil schmutz off. Then I got some galvanized, cold galvanized spray paint, because the metal look is kind of good. Metal goes with anything. When I said acetone, I meant denatured alcohol. I read the directions for the paint. It says lightly sand glossy surfaces before painting. So I'm sanding, which is what I do a lot of. You know what they say though? Sanding is caring, and I care. Power tool. Paint is shook. Directions are red. Oops, lid is off. Just a couple coats. I think we'll be ready for a birthday party tomorrow. Metal goes with everything. Well, and there you have it, mister. Your very own pizza oven windbreak. The paint's still drying, but I mean, that's where we welded the hinges on. It looks great. You can't even see anything. Just like they're kind of glued on there. Right? More, well, that's the backside. Definitely looks like those are glued on. But it turned out good. Paint's still drying a little bit. So So it'll even out as we go, but fancy looking hinges. And I left a lot of room up top. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but just in case it's absurdly tall, I can go ahead and, I got a good enough warranty for this. I can just whack off a couple inches up top if it's just obnoxiously tall. That's how it goes. It's gonna fold up nice. We'll let this dry overnight, just in time for your birthday party tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it.